Hello everyone. So this video is all about the detailed MHCET 2018 cutoff analysis by different institutes. In this video, I'm mostly covering all the analysis by different institutes like IMS, Time, Hit Bullseye, Olive Board, the last year's cutoff analysis by Cat King, and etc. As we all know, the result is scheduled on 19th of March, that is day after tomorrow. I thought of making a video that would be helpful to get an idea about a clue about what could be the cutoff for the college that we are aiming for, especially JBIMS and the other top three colleges. So let's start. So first of all, we'll have a quick analysis about MHC 2018. How was the test? How were the question patterns? So that it will be also helpful for the students who are gonna appear for the MHCET 2019. So let's have the analysis quickly about the test. So as we can see, so the first of all, MH 2018 was on a lower difficulty level than last year's MHCET, but it was greater difficulty level than 2016 MHCET. So we can see that all the slots of CET 2018 were marked by exam, which were on the difficult side. In general, the exam was more difficult than CET 2016, but easier than CET 2017, which is considered to be the toughest CET in the history of all CET papers. So furthermore, like CET 2017, CET 18, all the slots were divided into 4 sections. So this is all basic. Let's quickly move on to the section-wise analysis. So the approximate overall breakup of questions in VARC in all the 4 slots were as follows. Filling the blanks, match parts of the column which something got added new this year which wasn't there last year. Then choose grammatically wrong part. So the beauty of the CET was the framing of questions. It was framed a little differently so that it actually takes a while to understand what has to be literally done in the question. The questions were not themselves very difficult, but yeah, the question stem has to be read very properly. So there were synonym antonym questions, multiple sentence correction, join the given sentences, rewrite sentences with the same meaning, parajumbles, correctly used phrase, RCs. There were 2 RCs. One was on a higher difficulty level, which included questions like which of the following can be inferred, which of these can be. So all the which type of questions generally take a lot more time. And 1 RC was doable. Yeah, so genuine attempt of around 34 to 36 questions would be a good attempt in VARC. Let's move on to quantitative aptitude. Now there were 50 questions as normal. The 23 questions on DI was spread across 4 sets. There were sets in caselets. There was one caselet. There was a line graph, double pie chart. And in maths, there were 6 questions on odd man out. The questions on maths were dominated by arithmetic as it is normally seen in CET. There were 1 or 2 questions on probability, mensuration. So there were 6 questions on quantitative comparison, which were primarily based on quadratic equations. That is called quadratic inequalities. So it is much on the simpler side. You have to just compare the roots, greater and lesser and greater than equal to. This was the breakup of questions in data interpretation. There was a table, caselet, line graph, pie chart, which were on the medium to difficult level. Then the arithmetic questions were from the regions like time and work, time distance, percentage ratio, LCM, HCF, profit loss, partnership, SI, CI, and all the normal questions, geometry, mensuration. So yeah, mostly dominated by arithmetic questions, which were quite medium to difficult level. So there were DS questions as well, data sufficiency questions. And let's move on. So in the DIDS, in the quantitative sections, a genuine attempt of around 34 to 36 questions would have been a good attempt. In LR, now let's discuss LR. By far the most trickiest, not trickiest, but it was a lengthy and had a lot of puzzles according to me. In general, across all 4 slots, there were 59 questions on non-verbal reasoning and 16 questions on verbal reasoning. The questions on non-verbal were dominated by questions on arrangements. Yeah. So in most slots, there were around 36 questions on arrangements and 6 different sets. The sets on arrangements were data heavy and were really time consuming. So obviously the picking of the right questions was the key here. As the arrangement based sets were on the difficult side, some students found it better to move to mark some option and move to the next question set. There were most of them were familiar types like circular arrangement. There was a parallel arrangement question. There were family tree. There was a direction sense. One whole set was there on direction sense, which was doable. So in some slots, one critical reasoning question looked like maths based at first glance, involved percentages and all. There were few experiments done in this section for sure. So the overall difficulty of the VR questions was also easy to medium. So yeah, so non-verbal reasoning had around 59 questions. It has arrangements, matrix, linear, circular, square, scheduling, etc. On the medium to difficult sides, 5-6 sets. Sequential input output were there present in some slots, not in all. Family tree was there in every slot. Logical comparison was there in every slot. Coding was present in few slots like second and fourth. Yeah, directions, all the slots, 4 questions. Data sufficiency, 4 to 6 questions. Critical reasoning, 10 questions in every slot. Syllogisms, there are 3 questions having 5 variables and 3 questions having 4 variables. Medium to difficult, 6 questions in syllogisms as well. So these question types are only in some slots. Few questions that are marked with asterisk, as you can see: coding, sequential input output, data sufficiency. So these are present only in some slots. So in general, 38 to 40 attempts in slot 1 and 44 to 46 attempts in slot 2 and slot 4 for this section would be considered good. So here, as we see, there is some difference in slot wise attempts, what could be considered a good attempt. So in general, the LR section of slot 1 and slot 3 had tougher arrangement based questions. Due to this, the average attempts by test takers in slot 1 and slot 3 was a lot less. In general, 38 to 40 attempts in slot 1 and 44 to 46 in slot 2 and 4 would be considered good. Let's move on to abstract reasoning. This was on easiest, obviously it was easiest than the other 3 slots. So there were 25 questions, mostly at the ECM to medium level of difficulty, but it was really on one notch above than last year's CET abstract reasoning, of course. So yeah, so most of the institutes they have a HCF method, that highest common factor, and eliminating the figures, using the highest common factor elements, also called G strategy by an institute. Yeah, so the questions in this test were very similar to visual reasoning that appeared in earlier CET exams, nothing new, but yeah, it was a notch tougher than last year's CET. So there were around, complete the series, there were 15 questions. Analogies, there were 10. 25 questions. A genuine attempt of around 18 to 20 would be good in this section. Now overall a genuine attempt of around 120 in slot 1 and slot 3 and 130 in slot 2 and slot 4 would be considered good. So yeah, slot 1 and slot 3 you'll be needing around 130 questions, and slot 2 and slot 4 would be needing around 130. Sorry. Yeah, you can read genuine attempt of around 120 questions in slot 1 and slot 3 and 130 in slot 2 and slot 4 would be good. Based on the analysis of all slots CET 2017, we expect a total score of 127 to 129 in slot 1 and slot 3, while 134 to 136 in slot 2 and slot 4 will fetch a percentile of around 99.9 percentile. So yeah, so based on this analysis, we can see that slot 1 and slot 3 was on the more difficulty side, a higher difficulty level than slot 2 and slot 4. So that's why you will be needing more marks in slot 2 and slot 4. So not to worry, there will be normalization done. which would, so students need not to worry about the varying level of difficulty, as lots normalization of scores would be happening, likely to be done. It's likely to be done. Yes. So now let's. This is the cutoff analysis for MH 2018 by Time Institute. So what it says is for the slot 3, what it says is, as we can read, based on candidates' feedback, the paper can be classified as moderately difficult. It appears that the correct selection of questions is the key to a good score, since there wasn't any element of surprise in the type of questions, a judicious distribution of time and choice, blah blah blah. And a good student should have attempted around 125 to 130 questions. However, students aiming for top colleges should have attempted around 135 to 140 questions. So they are also predicting a cutoff of around 130 plus for JBIMS. Let's move on, guys. Just to have a rough analysis of the last year CET MH CET 2017 results, the score versus percentile can be seen as the range varied like this. So around a score of 136 had 99.99 in CET 2017. A score of 127 had 99.95, 124 had 99.9, 113 had 99.5, 107 had 99. So we can expect the percentile versus score range in this kind of a range. Mostly it will be a higher score would be required for the same percentile, as the CET was a notch, it was a easier CET than last year's CET, so you'd be requiring more marks. So +5 you can say, the score and the percentiles are not gonna remain the same for the +5 scores. So for example, like 127 marks got 99.95 percentile. This time you'll be needing around 132 marks for the same percentile. Let's move on. This is the prediction by Cat King, the Rahul Cat King, who's the brother of CET King, Rao Singh's. So his estimated cutoff is like this for CET 2018. So yeah, this is the guy. MH 2018 result will be announced on March 19, and the cutoffs according to him are gonna be like this. For JBIMS, a 130 plus score would suffice. Sydenham 128 plus, KJ Somaiya 125 plus, Wellinger 125 plus, Pumba 120 plus. Let's move on. This is the cutoff analysis by MBA Universe. So they have given it very nicely. The analysis as the one we have seen earlier. So let's see what their cutoff predictions are. So yeah, so the expected cutoff for JBIMS, SIMSRI, KJ Somaiya and Pumba. So all India candidates can expect admission to top MBA colleges accepting CET 2018. Pumba and the cutoffs would be expected like this: JBIMS 135 and above, SIMSRI 130 and above, KJ 125 and above, Pumba 120 and above. So accordingly, as we have seen, different institutes are having different calculated estimated cutoffs for JBIMS. It's likely to be around 132, not more than that. So guys, lastly, the CET 2018 cutoffs as predicted by CET King by Rao Singh is as follows. He predicts that the cutoff would be around 120 to 125 for JBIMS and around 105 to 110 for top 4 colleges. And you can see this is his final chart for what he says at JBIMS. And you can see different categories. He has bifurcated the first column into open, OMS. OMS is outside Maharashtra, OBC and SC/ST. So for JBIMS, an open candidate would from home university would be needing around 125 marks. Other than Maharashtra would be needing 135. OBC would be needing around 120, and SC/ST cutoff would be around 110 marks in CET 2018 for getting admission into JBIMS. So yeah. So guys, we have seen different cutoff analysis by different institutes, and having a brief summary of all the analysis, what I have found commonly is that Slot 1 and slot 3, the cutoffs, as mentioned by different institutes, would be a little higher than would be a little lower than slot 2 and slot 4. So slot 1 and slot 3 are considered to be on the little easier side than